part of the reason I think Mad Lions, and this is what I was saying, transitioning here, like, because I know we're going to talk about them.
Well done.
But part of the reason that I think Mad Lions is doing so well right now is because that pressure is relieved. Not to say that they couldn't shore that up, right? But the fact that they're like playing from their gaming house, right, and sort of like
Wow.
it's as you even see here in the B-roll footage. Where
Jacob is calling
like,
Mad Lions onliners.
No.
Like, highlight
Okay.
that, clip it.
I believe I am a huge.
Where
Mad
Reddit
Lions,
at?
I am a huge Mad Lions homer, and I have been on this show for a while. I believe in the talent and the skill of this team. However, I do think that they would not be succeeding to the same extent. I think that they'd be a top team, but not be succeeding to the same extent if they were playing on stage. And especially that, I think that will be true if Worlds were to be on stage, which obviously it will not be. I think it will be an online, everybody in the same hotel, etc. So, to me, right, like the competition's been, some teams have benefited from this being online. I think that G2, though, when push comes to shove and the pressure gets hot, that they are very good at that in those types of situations in a way that most of the other top teams in the LEC right now are not. So all that to say, like, that is G2's big benefit.
As we take a look at some highlights here from Mad Lions, Emily, do you think, like, every time we do LEC segments, of course we're focusing on G2. Of course we're talking a little bit Fnatic. And yeah, then we mention the top place teams like Rogue and Mad Lions, right? But after this weekend, yeah, they went 1-1. They did beat G2 again, though. And I'm wondering, are we in
Mad
a way...
went 2-0.
Sorry, Mad went 2-0, my bad. Are we at this point of the season not giving them enough emphasis? I know that we talk about them on the shows, but it never feels like they're the focus or they're the showcase portion of the LEC. Are we disrespecting this team a little bit, given their standing?
I don't know if we're disrespecting them. I feel like we haven't talked about what makes them good, though. And I think a lot of that is So I feel sometimes the same way about Mad Lions drafts as I do about Kingzone Dragon X drafts, where they take a lot of risks occasionally in what they draft because sometimes the degree of execution will be a little bit high. They were one of the only teams that was letting through Varus, if I remember correctly, when Varus was like permaban red side. And so I think I really love their willingness to experiment and to try things like the Ivern to bring out different looks while keeping their early game proactivity fairly consistent across the board. A lot of people have talked about how good Shadow is. I think that like bears repeating. I think the fact that he's kind of this captain of their early game, he's been absolutely insane. Obviously, I think we've also touched on the fact that Humanoid is having basically a career split. I think in the G2 series, you do see some mistakes from Mad Lions that they definitely will have to shore up if they're going to be the LEC champions. A lot of those have to do with where they put Prio in the mid game and how they use Prio and paying attention to their waves. And like maybe Jax doesn't have to TP topside when you're diving top because you already would have gotten that. And then you can have Jax catch the wave and not give all of that farm to Camille in the bot lane. Maybe don't do that. But like these are all minor errors that I think Mad Lions could improve, especially if they, were to make it to travel to China and then scrim against like LCK and LPL teams, where I do think Mad Lions have a really interesting advantage. And I don't know how they have this advantage because it doesn't necessarily come from other LEC teams necessarily. It depends on the LEC team you're talking about. But one thing I think that the LPL teams are peerless in is team fighting. And one thing I think Mad Lions are the best at is their team fighting and their skirmishing can be really, really, really good. And if there's like a chance for them, like if we're talking about not just Mad Lions within the LEC right now, but if we're talking about them as how much are they a title contender? How much are they going to show up on the world stage and maybe perform well? I think you really have to look at their skirmishing and team fighting and say, okay, this is it. Like this is where they might be able to butt heads with an LPL team and actually come out on top. Maybe not, because again, LPL teams, like I think that's their strength. It's not necessarily macro decision making. It's that they have insane mechanical players and they team fight constantly, so they get a ton of practice at it. But Mad are one of those teams where I see if they're scrimming teams like that, they will improve in something that they're already really good at. And so that's what stands out to me for Mad Lions and like what makes them a legitimate team for me.